So welcome to this really feminine panel here, Þórður. You will have to keep up the good work for your gender there. So first of all, thank you for really inspiring talks. I asked our technical guys to take up this tent so everyone could enjoy here the beautiful view we have ordered behind us. And I have my friend Philip from Visit Greenland. He has been monitoring questions to you. So what I'm going to do is start to take a few questions from the audience that are online. If you here, our live audience, have any questions, it would be great if you would just raise your hand and we can then take your questions also. But I'm going to open up, this is really technical, of course, here. He is like in Denmark right now, taking this from the audience online. So the first question, actually, I wanted to start with a question for you all, and we can start with Bárður, because we have a content creators here in front of us, and my question to you, and then it might be really interesting also to hear from the content creators themselves, because I'm not sure even, we call them influencers. Is that the same as content creators? Or have we kind of, do we all agree on what content creators are? And I think that when I look at Jón Ragnar, my friend here in the audience, I'm not sure if he would call himself an influencer, though he is, I mean, obviously. But for me, he is an influencer, but his idea is probably that he is a content creator. That's my idea, but, and he not, so he agrees with me. But Bárður, what do you say? Have we kind of juggled this saying or words around, or does it matter?
Yeah, well, on our website we talk about content creators mostly, because we are looking for collaborators on content creation. There are not many kind of celebrities within our field, but of course there are influencers that come to our site that are maybe it's interesting for us to work with, but mostly I think like Jón from Iceland, it's like a typical guy that we would work with because he travels the Iceland a lot. He knows the back roads. He can show us pictures that the general public maybe never sees. And in that sense, I'm not really thinking a lot about his audience, really. But there are, of course, there are instances where I give, for example, free access and do things for people that come with like huge followers. But most of the work, at least what we do, is more on the content side rather than the influencer side, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Olivia, you also talked about quality over quantity. Is this in line with that? I mean, when you're choosing and when you're like putting it into this metrics, I mean, what matters most?
Yeah, well, obviously my coworker Bárður Eklund, who is our digital media manager, he is also a photojournalist. So like primarily when he's been doing the work from the beginning, it's been like the quality of the actual photo. So he will have a look at like, do they have like the photographic, like do they master that skill? And when I mention content creators in my speech, it's probably also because I know that there's a big universe regarding what the content creator influence, which markets they go into. And what we've been focusing on a lot is to build our own channels, to get the content running through our streams. So that sort of makes sense for us to call them content creators. But that being said, like the people our collaborators, if they have a big following, they are influencers. I mean, and then we might have someone with 300 followers contacting us and saying, hi, I'm an influencer, I work with, and maybe they will have some fake numbers sometimes, not always, of course. There's not a shame in saying that you're an influencer.
No.
It's nothing like that, but it's just something, I think, when you create strong content and when you have a group of following who relate to your content, and I think like I Heart Reykjavik sounds to be, like we even have proof in this panel that she has definitely been an influencer because she has influenced people to go to places, but it's probably a little bit hard to just call yourself that unless you are it.
And also, I'm wondering, because we didn't go into any depth in talking about the different kind of social media, like TikTok doesn't even need you to have a lot of followers to get your content really fast ongoing if the algorithm is like that. So we are also learning a lot through new channels, of course. So that can be something to talk about in another perspective, in another way. But Jannica, maybe to connect you to this also, because you were talking about also like the content creator, but I was wondering, like, how independent can they be? Like, I mean, they have their own opinion, they have their own values, they maybe there can be some kind of a conflict even if something, some questions will be raised, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, but if there is a conflict between the influencers or content creators' values and the company, they should basically not work together. That's like,
no.
Yeah. So finding the right content creators to work with is especially important, and especially if you have some more sensible topics, or if you're really focusing on responsible, sustainable tourism, then you should really pick who you work with very carefully.
Mm-hmm. You also have here a question from the online audience regarding the ambassadors. Are ambassadors usually local content creators? This comes from Lasse from Greenland.
They can be, but they can also be from far away. It depends on how you kind of tailor the agreement. We've had some, like we haven't called it directly ambassadorship, but with the Nordic TBs we have some destinations that we have been working with for 7-8 years. And we're sending sometimes different bloggers, but sometimes also the same ones that has been there before, because they want to extend the content universe that they have on their blogs and social media channels, so that they get more authority in that specific topic. Mm-hmm. So it's also a way of building authority for the content creators, and also a way to kind of expand the universe that they present within this destination. Mm-hmm. But whether you call it an ambassadorship or not, usually ambassadorship is very common in brand, like brand buildings. It's not that common in destination, but like outdoors clothing and more equipment and those kind of things can be nice to kind of connect with a travel blogger or a content creator that has the same values and experience things that this brand wants to be connected with. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more about how you lay out and not everything, like not every collaboration with a travel blogger needs to include travel. It may sound very strange, but during COVID now we've also had collaborations with like digital-only campaigns. So we've used photos and content and experience from previous trips and previous visits to create new content with a different theme or a different focus. And it also helps each of the bloggers involved to expand the universe of this destination or this team on their blog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. And also, like, to connect to your talk, maybe your talk was a little bit more, for some it might have been in a more depth, you know. Yeah. It's complicated for many people. I mean, when you start to talk about, you need to know this, but you don't really have to do this yourself. But nevertheless, you need to find your keywords yourself. How would you explain for a business owner? I mean, maybe many are watching that are like into this field and know really much about the technical side and everything about it. But how could you explain for a business owner what he really needs to know and what he can find services for in other places?
Yeah, I think as a business owner, you have, as I said, to start in the company with the keywords. And I think in a company, you know what your customers want to be searching for, but you can always get one who knows about SEO to be an extended connection to the company to help you because they have access to the tools, for example. Mm-hmm. But I think the best way to start is to start with the keywords and then building up the landing pages. Actually, I think that you are doing a great job at Leva in the way you are connecting using people who are working with SEO and stuff like that, but also using the internal knowledge in the company. Yeah.
And also to keep that ball rolling, because content creators, I mean, could we, to try to save time and money and try to use the content in more broader way maybe, do you think we could cooperate more, Börður? For example, in Iceland on content. I mean, you need special knowledge to make this, of course, as relevant and trustworthy as you can. But do you think that we could work more together on content building, like to connect to sustainability, to connect to the nature and everything that we want to? And this could go, of course, for all the Nordics. But what is your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think the point that you came up with, that you can't hire a content creator for one restaurant, makes a lot of sense for me. First of all, I would love to work with companies in my area to create a lot of content and we could share. I mean, they would, of course, do different content for different operations, but there's also a lot of content that we could kind of work with. Photos, like very detailed topics, like we're struggling a lot with, like with just geology. I'm sure that other people could use it. I wouldn't really care if we would just have access to it. And that's one of the things I've been really happy with, the way Visit Iceland has been moving a bit now. They're creating better access to destination, to companies. They're creating access to data and information that we can kind of pull up and use. And I would love to see more of that. But I think we could also even go even further. And I need a lot of help from the local communities. Like I can't hire a copywriter in south of Iceland. It's almost impossible. I can't hire even almost not a photographer in the area that kind of can help me. And I think if we could do like a collaborative work on it, maybe we could create a working environment for these people that we could really kind of, I mean, it's great to get the best content creators in, but they're very busy, they're quite expensive. And I'm sure that we could really benefit of kind of building a base for more people, doing it more locally.
Could we maybe mix it a little bit? Because I think that the word we are lacking a little bit, and we talked a little bit about this in the break earlier. We have kind of stopped talking about words that we know and are familiar with, like storytelling. I mean, content building is about storytelling, and we the Nordics, we are rich of stories, and we really know how to communicate them. I mean, maybe the storyteller is not the best photographer or not the best blogger, and so on and so forth. But if we can collect the stories, we can develop the content and so on. What do you feel about this, Olivia?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that when I was preparing for this, I didn't include storytellers in my, the way I was trying to describe what we mean by content creators. But it's obviously a very, very important skill to master. And if I could add on to what Barry says with the local community, like right now, if you go to our Instagram page, Visit Faroe Islands, you will see that we have local content creators who are telling their story of a Faroese Christmas. And I think that, of course, we can hire in content creators from all over the world, and they will be brilliant at creating also stories about our community, and they have a different view of seeing it. But when it comes to storytelling, we are actually the ones that are really good at telling it, because we've been describing ourselves, or at least we can tell the stories from our point of view. So we will have right now some recipes to do vanilla crans. I don't know what's it called in English, but yeah, so that's a way to sort of continue the story from a local point of view, and I think it's always interesting to discuss what do we call things, but as a concept, storytelling is of course that's why we sort of travel. That's the things we relate to, and not like Inga mentioned at the beginning. Maybe not so much like the facts. We want the feelings, and
yeah. Sometimes we get lost in finding fancy words around something that we really understand. But I mean, content creator is a really great word, though. Jannica, there's a direct question here for you, and this is also a question I had in mind, and also for all of you to kind of jump into. This comes from Sonja from Finland, and I really love how all the countries are gathering around this event here. But she has the question, do you have any examples of how to make sure that the content created supports sustainable tourism practices?
You have to vet everyone that you work with. So go through their content, go through everything that they've posted, maybe not everything if they have thousands and thousands of articles, but take a good look at the content that they post. Like, is this representing your values and what you want out of a collaboration? Mm-hmm. So it's basically just you need to check, and you also need to just have a conversation. Like, these are our values, this is what we want with our company, and this is what we want with this collaboration. Mm-hmm. And then they need to kind of okay, or, well, this is nothing for me. So I think it's like a mutual understanding that needs to be set beforehand.
And also, in connection with this, there's a question about how if you have any kind of drone rules in your area, and then you have a lot of promotion that is drone pictures. I mean, this has to go hand in hand, I would assume. But would you like to chip into this sustainability issues here? Kira, do you have any?
Oh, sorry. I don't know how to say it from an SEO perspective.
No, but what I took out from you, you were looking for ways, or you were looking for travel in Iceland in wintertime, for example. I mean, can we trust that the page that you saw responsible, can we trust that the information that come up, that have been put in there, is relevant and right, and how can we kind of see that this is the right information?
Yeah, but the reason why we gain so much trust to this exact website was because it was, no matter what we were searching for, we were ended up at her site, at I had Reykjavik. And she was great to explain everything very deeply from a personal perspective and not from a commercial perspective. And that was some things that made us gain some trust. And she also has big collaborators who have big policy about sustainability and things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you can find trust in personal content creators.
Yeah, but like for me, I would like everyone to just jump into Safe Travel or into some page that I know that everyone can trust. What do they need to do to be like, you know? So I would go into their page first. Do they need to then step up their game in SEO or what?
I think so, because SEO is the way where you are going to get the organic ranking. And organic ranking is something you get from Google and not because you are paying for it. So I think it's a big approval of trust to have great rankings organically. Yeah.
Can I just jump in with something about that? Because in one of the slides that I had, I didn't quite explain. There were 3 images, and I took the example of the painting that bloggers didn't know anything about. But one of the images there was a huge campaign a couple of years back with, I think it started with 20 of the YouTubers and Instagrammers that had like huge following. And there was a campaign that was initiated by one of the creators, but it was Save the Trees. So it was focused on saving the trees in the world. And the photo that I showed, it will probably be sent out after the presentations. Inga? Yes. But it shows one of the key figures in this campaign, and it's Fun for Louis. He was, I'm not sure if he's still doing YouTube videos, but he was traveling the world with his crew, and so he was standing in front of the world's oldest tree. And he was standing like right next to the tree, and the photo was of him. What you didn't see in that photo is that what was left out in the front was "do not cross." So it's actually not allowed to go to the tree. It has a fence, but it's very effectively just like put out. And this is a campaign to save the trees, and he's kind of trespassing the one and only. And sometimes you have creators that, okay, the rules are this, but they don't apply to me. And especially the big influencers has somewhat. And I saw like one of the examples also with the COVID parties. Like, yes, it applies to everybody else, but not to me. So that's also something that you need to be aware of if you especially if you're working with sustainable, responsible travel, to be very sure that they have the same values and they have the same, and it's for real. Yeah. Because sometimes it's just for show.
Yeah. It's a little bit like greenwashing.
Can I add a bit to this as well? Because I find this is really interesting. I think like safetravel.is has no way in hell to fight against Guide to Iceland, Arctic Adventure, or these great content creators. They cannot do it. I think it's really, really difficult for them. I believe that they should create content for those that deliver the good stuff. So that the content creators are willing to link to it. So they are giving them value for their content. And I think that's the way to do it. I think it's impossible to have sites that are fighting with the people that are actually doing this professionally.
Jonas is listening, so you're talking directly to
but I like just a simple thing for lava, for example. We struggle a lot with weather in winter in Iceland. And they're always trying to force people to go into weather.is or into safetravel.is, but no one goes there. I don't remember when I've been abroad that I went to kind of the local nature hazard site. I've never done that. The people that are coming to us are using their iPhone weather apps, which are very inaccurate often. But what they do is that before they go out, they check, are we open? What should we see on the way? All this information. And there we should have the information on the weather, links to it or widgets or whatever, because that's where the people will go. So they will check on the parking in National Park at Þingvellir. They will not check the weather at weather.is before going there. But if the parking site has a link to update weather or weather warnings, that will help. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good choice. No, good point. Also to connect this all together, because I mean, individually we will go nowhere, but when we try to, or when we develop this cooperation, then it starts to get viral in that perspective. But Olivia, and our time is almost up, but you had few really big words that I connect a lot to. You talked about regenerative tourism, and you talked about using tourism as a good force, and in that connection with, and of course, responsibility and sustainability. But how can you connect that also to this using of content builders, and I mean, how important are these? These are not only big words, I know that, because you are acting on them also, but...
Well, we are trying our best to act on them, and of course we've done, like, for example, the Clothes for Maintenance campaign, which is both a developmental tourism campaign, but it's also something that we can do marketing on, so that's sort of a way to connect those dots. I think that one of the issues, and one thing that's probably not making it easier for anyone to find the right sustainability or even regenerative collaborators, or those who support that vision, is that everybody is saying that they are it. So you might get a request, we are all about sustainable travel, we're all about reconciliation, and we might have a discussion, and like at the end of the day, they might end up delivering like what we didn't agree upon. I think it's really, really tricky, and I think you're going to have to do some mistakes along the way. But yeah, I think what Janne mentioned is just to sort of try to validate as well as you can in advance, and then you will just have to have some trust and try and fail a little bit along the way.
I haven't done a search in any of the tools, but I'm not sure how many, like how strong the search for sustainable travel in Faroe Islands or sustainable travel is. So I'm not sure how many searches for it. So that's also maybe some of the reason.
Yeah.
So Kira, just in the end, because we have so many, and like in the Nordics, 80 to 90% of all businesses are like small and medium.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not a lot of finance or a lot of budget for really heavy technical issues. But what would you recommend them to start with? Because everyone needs to jump into this area and issue. What would be your key message to them?
I would say take time out of the day or out of the week for everyone to participate in creating content for the company. It could be as in an article or making a video or social media or something like that, but everyone should be on board, I think so. You could make a podcast and just make it one podcast per month or something, just do something. And of course, because I'm working with SEO, I think that the copywriting is very important. And if you can make landing pages for every keyword that is related to your company, that will of course be amazing. So just do it over time.
Start small and try to build up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Annika, what would be your key takeaway?
No, I was just thinking about what she said also, because if you want to be visible with your own content on your own platform or your own web page as a company. There are so many companies, even big hotel chains, that are, yes, we need to have a blog. Mm-hmm. So they start a blog and they post 3 or 4 posts, and then you go into it, and the last post was updated in 2019, and it kind of like falls out. So either way, So either way you do it, like if you decide to go, like, we are going to work on a website, we're going to work on our social media, and we're going to create content, then look at it as this is a long-term business strategy. It's not a project that you can finalize, like be finished in 3 months, and then it's like, yes, we've done that, and now we can move on. This is like social media. It's built for long term. It's like you can't do, in lack of the English words, we say skippertak in Norwegian. It's not something you can just do. Yeah, we're going to post 20 posts this week, and then the next posts are coming. Yes, and then the next posts are coming in March. Yeah. So you need to be constant present. And if you decide to start a blog, you can think that you don't have to create all the content there by yourself. You can hire or collaborate with content creators to create really interesting stuff that is also SEO optimized, and that can drive traffic to your site and give business.
It's kind of starting with the end in mind, kind of, philosophy. Olivia.
Well, I think there's just been a lot of really, really good things inspiring from today, and I think it was interesting to hear how you have been working with, like, especially geologists to create content, because I think it's some people just know more about a certain area. So if you can use them, we also have some interesting geology in the Faroe Islands. We have some geologists. Maybe we could get them to do something. And of course, also, just hearing about the SEO. That's always something that I'm not personally working with, but I know that I have some coworkers at home. And of course, very much interesting to hear like the difference, like the side from the content creator when we have it from our side. So I think it was all in all. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Order.
We are on that path now, kind of. We have most of our staff that have never written SEO text before, but I think it's just becoming easier and easier. I mean, we have Udemy courses, we have things like this today. I think the bar is not as high as we think. So I think we should just, like you said, we should really, as a team, sit down, write the keywords, think about the questions that we're asked at the front line, and kind of start from there. And there's so much information, so easily accessible, and it's a bit of like an artisan-y trade. You just have to start molding and start working on it. And I don't think it is a very steep hill to climb. It's just this decision to go for it for the long run and stick to it.
Mm-hmm. And not everything needs to be SEO on your webpage. You can put up a perfectly nice story about anything, and then use internal linking to drive traffic to it. So it doesn't have to be visible on Google. You don't have to be on page 1 with everything, but use internal linking. So.
And I'm sure that people that were watching today, people that were with us here today are inspired and probably with a lot of questions. So the people that are here can grab you and maybe ask you more questions in details. And also your contact information will be given to the people that were registered here today. But we need to close this now. Panels always fly and the time flies. So you will take the stage again, Inga.
Thank you again to all the panelists and to you, Ásta, for moderating and connecting the dots. I hope you are more inspired to go and continue on working on your own content or working with content creators. have figured a bit more out how that all plays into your SEO strategies. I know that I am inspired. I feel like we could do this. We could have a meeting like this every month. We could practically have it every week. There is still so much that has not been touched upon that could easily have been talked about today. But this is a start. I'm really grateful for everyone who's been watching, really grateful for everyone who showed up today. We appreciate it a lot. On behalf of the DT Nordics, Digital Tourism in the Nordics team, I thank you from all our participating countries, Iceland, Faroe Islands, Visit Greenland, Visit Finland. And please visit the website dtnordics.com. It has a lot of valuable information regarding digitalization in tourism, especially geared towards small and medium-sized tourism companies in the Nordics. Of course, it's open and available to everyone, but that's where our focus lies these days. So have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.